not should apply, or a version of it, if it is over like $100 order, like there should be like a minimum, tip requirement on some of like the larger orders.
You know what I would tell you though, as a server, as all my years of serving and bartending, I would say if given the opportunity at any location, even a place I've never worked that's notorious for not tipping, if they said 18% or you can work it, I said I'll say I'll work it. Take it off the bill. I would much rather work for my tip than get 18%. Like if there's 6 people there, I'm actually counting on 30% now because I'm expecting a lot of them to throw in.
See, that's always a philosophical question I've wondered about tipping, is that when there's a large, not saying when there's a large group, when there's, using that example, there's 6 people, is it the ideal way for everybody to tip their own percent, or do they look at the whole party and say, okay, the same way you would look at a mandatory table and just say the whole check is this much, we don't split it, just add 18% on top? What comes out better there on average?
I just know me. If I ever went out with a large party, I always tipped beyond what the restaurant man always.
Okay. Oh, okay. You mean even if it was written out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So even if it was written, I'm saying 15% will be automatic gratuity. Like I still left more than the 15% at the table because I always felt like the waitress or waiter was getting shafted just by that minimum 15%. But that's just me, like going out with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that as well. Like usually it's everybody throws in, usually because it's like a large party, usually ends up with one ticket. So the other people who aren't, swiping their card end up just cashing out the tip, and they kind of get both.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I have a little different view on it. I guess that, it also rings in people's heads. I can tell you this, like, working a bar for 8 years across the street from the baseball stadium here, which is big. I mean, we have a bigger stadium. And the Rockies host a lot of different teams. So we get a lot of games, and we were right across the street. And there's a whole little district of lower downtown, Lodo down there. There are places, very few, probably about, maybe 10, 15% of the locations that do, we've added a blank tax. Of course, there are people who pay it and then over tip it by a ton. But I can tell you this, and it's a weird thing. I just know this from being in the industry and knowing the people. They get a bad taste, and even if it's not registering they tend not to go back to those places. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It just starts feeling like a place like, I don't want to be like.
It's interesting you bring that up because that was the whole point of that video, was to say the first app that decides to do this, people won't use that app. They will go to the app that doesn't do that, unless they all decide to do it at the same time. The idea that is another fee, like what Gary said, it's just another fee that you hope is going straight to the drivers, right? And I understand a lot of people are frustrated right now. It's, a lot of the orders are not worth picking up, but to add another fee, it won't change that situation. And I think many people who think, okay, if we put a mandatory tipping, it will push out the non-tippers. But most of those orders are non-tippers anyway. So I just don't see how by adding that would help drivers make more money. It'll be just less orders and us drivers just sitting around not looking at anything. I mean, maybe that is the goal. But right now, most people who order from these apps are not from well-to-do. They're not wealthy. They're in a like basically a maybe middle class. But I think, as I saw Pedro showing a video of EBT and Snap, you're able to have that and still order from DoorDash. Like they have those things linked together. Now, if you guys don't know what EBT or Snap is, it's for low-income people who are struggling. They're not doing well.
Like we've seen Instacart doing.
Exactly.
One thing, a lot of the grocery apps allow EBT and Snap now. I know, Spark is big on that. No, not big on that, but every grocery app is basically.
So those people, they'll look at that, man. They're not typically, maybe some do. It's hard to blanket their entire, population or group of people, but they have lower resources. So I'm thinking, I know we're trying to find ways to make more money, but the idea of trying to get people to do something that's optional, I just don't think that's going to work.
Now, let me ask you this question, Hannibal, because I think in general, when we talk about tipping, we're talking about the individual orderer. But if you kind of go back to kind of what Kim had talked about, the larger orders, what if there was mandatory tipping on, we'll say, orders of, I don't know how they would do this, but 8 entrees or more, so a larger order. How do you think that would work?
I would that would make more sense because you already you're going to purchase something that's going to cost a good amount of money. So you should have that available. But even what Steve was saying, by putting that fee right there, and you may have to call it something different, because if you said something is a tip, then they may not, like what Steve said, they may not put in more. They're like, well, we got it. Oh, it was only 50 or like 20%. Well, I guess we're good. Or so that is a it could go the other way where you thinking, man, I'm gonna really do well, and they're like, well, we already took care of that tip when we ordered it. So it can go both ways. But I would say if you're gonna do like the large catering, and I don't know, haven't anyone here ever ordered catering for one of these apps and saw how the fees broke down? I haven't.
Well, before that, I do want to say that those places that do that, though, there's another step to this too. Always get the worst servers and bartenders. They end up with the Applebee's types. I don't know. I mean, do the math, you guys, but they can be lazy.
See, I don't agree with Kim's statement about over a certain price, because there's some, like a steakhouse. You go to a steakhouse, you get 2 meals. It's $50 a person. There's your fee, and the waitress only had to bring 2 plates. Should she still be tipped? Yes. 20% or more, probably, if she's great or he's great, whatever. But a mandatory fee, no, because what if they suck and they only brought you 2 plates?
I just don't like the word mandatory. I feel like that's just, maybe it's the wrong wording. I mean, I know that's what it is, but it feels so demanding,
Right. So my point is that if these apps, like I've seen a few people saying, were to do mandatory tipping, the problem is the other apps wouldn't, so that wouldn't work anyway because it'd cost a lot more. But if they all did it, I still don't think it would work, because now you're just going to piss people off more. Again, nobody goes into there's just a difference. Nobody goes into a restaurant, faces somebody eye to eye, orders, like Gary said, 2 steaks, a couple drinks, hangs out for a while, and doesn't tip somebody. You just feel a connectedness where you're like,
the social contract,
or I'm a complete piece of trash, man.
Yeah, the pressure of like you should do something good for the person that served you.
But those people could order the steaks on any of these apps and be no tippers.
See, that was always been my thought, is the loopholes. There's always going to be the people who find the loopholes, because I made a video a while back, but it's kind of that same thing. It's kind of the loophole to a large order, just get it delivered. And even if we looked at it from, I was thinking about this a second ago, if it's only a large order, say 10 entrees or more, all that's going to happen is if there's 2 people ordering 10 entrees, I'm just going to split it up, and we're just going to, avoid that whatever that cap is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where it's at, John. John looking for all the loopholes.